Well, hello and welcome to another video by Financial Learning. On today's video, we're going to be looking at the most shorted Bitcoin mining stocks. We're going to rank them starting with the lowest short interest and go all the way to the top. We're going to be looking at 14 different companies. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, rounding out the bottom of the list, this is going to be the lowest short interest percent of free float stock. This is CANG. That is ticker symbol CANG. They had a short interest percent of free float at 1.42%. Their days to cover at 1.09 days. Utilization sitting at 32.63% and short score at 45.65. Jumping down to the middle right section, you can see the live short interest data. What I like to point out is going to be the increase in short interest for Friday's market day. Their new short score is actually 1.43%. Jumping down to the bottom, that's going to be from the Interactive Brokers short availability list. You're going to see they had a total shares available at 55,000 shares at a cost to borrow of 0.77%. Next up on our list, coming at number 13 is going to be BitFUFU. That is ticker symbol FUFU. They had a short interest percent of free float at 1.69% with days to cover at 1.86 days. Jumping over to the utilization, you can see they had a 20.69% and a short score of 54.14. Jumping over to the live short interest data, again, this is from the Friday trading day. They had a decrease of short interest percent. Their new amount is actually at 1.67%. Jumping to the bottom, looking at the Interactive Brokers short availability, you can see last shares available update was 8,000 and that cost to borrow sitting very high at 31.19%. Coming in at number 12 is going to be HIVE Digital. That is ticker symbol HIVE. They had a short interest percent of free float sitting at 3.17%. Looking at that days to cover, just 0.57 days. Jumping over to that utilization percent at 18.49 and that short score at 38.4. Moving over to the middle right, you can see that live short interest data. Again, this would be at the end of that Friday trading day. They actually had a decrease in that short percent down to 3.16%. Looking at the bottom right, this is going to be from the Interactive Brokers shorts availability. This is as of the last reporting of shares available at 2.8 million and that cost to borrow at 1.51%. Coming in at number 11 is going to be Iris Energy. That is ticker symbol IREN. They had a short interest percent of free float at 7.44%. Looking at days to cover at just 0.85 days. And then moving over to utilization, sitting at 65.69% with a short score of 58.72. Moving over to the middle, you can see that live short interest data. This is again as of Friday. They had an increase in shares shorted. Their new percent is sitting at 7.4% of that free float. Looking at the Interactive Broker short availability, their last reported shares available is at 8 million with a cost to borrow of 0.49%. All right, rounding out the bottom of our top 10 most shorted Bitcoin mining stocks, we do have CIFR Mining Company, ticker symbol CIFR. They had a short interest percent of free float at 8.86% with the days to cover at 2.01 days. Moving over to that utilization percent, again, that's going to be the shares on loan compared to the amount of outstanding shares. That utilization is sitting at 28.01%. Moving over to the short score, it is at 55.55. Looking at that live short interest data, you can actually see that there was some shares return in terms of short interest. It is now sitting at 8.75%. And just so you're aware, when I am ranking the stock, I am looking at the latest update, which is going to be coming from this live short interest percent of free float. And looking down at that Interactive Broker short availability, their last reported shares available at 4.2 million with a cost to borrow at 0.28%. And at number 9, it is HUT8. That is ticker symbol HUT. They had a short interest percent of free float at 10.49% with the days to cover at 1.1 days. Looking at that utilization at 34.82% and the short score sitting at 58.78. Moving to that live short interest percent, they actually had some additional shares shorted. It is now sitting at 10.5%. Looking down at the bottom of this Interactive Brokers shorts availability, the last reporting amount of shares available is at 900,000 with a cost to borrow at 0.53%. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Bitfarms. That is ticker symbol BITF. They had a short interest percent of free float at 15.93% with the days to cover at 1.42. Moving on to utilization at 88.48% and a short score of 71.41. Looking at that live short interest data, they did have some shares increased on this shares shorted, and it is now sitting at 15.99%. Moving on to the Interactive Broker short availability, this is of the last reported shares available at 1.3 million, and the cost to borrow sitting at a hefty 6.65%. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Core Scientific. That is ticker symbol CORZ. They had a short interest percent of free float at 17.76%, days to cover sitting at 3.86 days, and a utilization of 37.92%, giving a short score of 67.58. Moving on to live short interest data, you can actually see that there were some additional shares returned, which means a reduction in shares short. It is now sitting at 17.72%. Moving down to the bottom, Interactive Brokers shorts availability, last reported at 9.6 million shares available at a cost to borrow of just 0.38%. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Riot Platforms. That is ticker symbol RIOT. They had a short interest percent of free float at 18.86% with the days to cover at 1.84 days. Looking at that utilization percent, it is sitting at 46.86 and a short score of 66.98. Looking at that live short interest data, this is as of that Friday market close. It is sitting at 18.9%. So there were some additional shares that were picked up at the end of Friday. Looking at the Interactive Broker shares availability, last reported shares available at 1.3 million with a cost to borrow of just 0.39%. Coming in at number 5 is going to be TeraWulf. That is ticker symbol WULF. They had a short interest percent of free float at 23.03%, days to cover at 2.3 days, and that utilization percent sitting at 59.46%, a short score of 68.71. Looking at that live short interest data, and they actually had some shares returned, it is now sitting at 22.21%. Looking down at the bottom, Interactive Brokers shorts availability, last reported, still had 8.2 million shares available at a cost to borrow of just 0.55%. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Bit Digital. That is ticker symbol BTBT. They had a short interest percent of free float at 22.84 with days to cover at 1.87 days. Looking at the utilization, it is sitting at 79.99% with the short score at 69.82. Looking at the live short interest data, you can see that they did have an increase of shares shorted on Friday. It is now sitting at 23.25%. Looking down at the Interactive Brokers shares availability, last reported was 300,000 shares at a cost to borrow of just 0.48%. Coming in at number 3 on our shorted list, this is CleanSpark. That is ticker symbol CLSK. They had a short interest percent of free float at 24.66% with the days to cover at 1.96. Looking at the utilization, it's sitting at 78.2% and a short score of 70.81. Looking at that live short interest data, there were some shares returned, so the short interest did slightly go down. It's now sitting at 24.46%. Looking at the Interactive Brokers shorts availability, last reported shares available at 1.8 million with a cost to borrow of 0.71%. Coming in at number 2 on our list is Mara Holdings. That is ticker symbol MARA. They had a short interest percent of free float at 26.43%, days to cover at 1.39 days, and a utilization of 70.22%. Looking at the short score, it's sitting at 69.98, and that live short interest data does show some shares returned on Friday. It is sitting at 26.38%. Looking down the bottom, the Interactive Brokers short availability, they had a last reported shares available at 350,000 with a cost to borrow of 0.4%. And number one on our list of Bitcoin miners shares shorted, this is going to be BTDR Technologies Group. That is ticker symbol BTDR. They had a short interest percent of free float at 29.64% with a days to cover at 1.73 days and a utilization of 97.43%. That is crazy. Looking at a short score of 71.95. Moving on to the live short interest data, they actually did show the exact same amount of shares shorted. The percent of free float remained at 29.64%. Moving down to the bottom there, looking at the Interactive Brokers short availability, last reported was 95,000 shares available at a cost to borrow of 2.93%. All right, and that wraps it up for me, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this quick summary of the Bitcoin mining companies short interest percent of free float. If you did, consider giving this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, drop a comment, let me know what you think about these shares shorted. What do you think is going to happen this coming trading week? I'm going to continue to cover these stocks weekly to give you this short percent of free float update. And with that said, hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one.